Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. Um, this is just a really quick, short presentation, depending on how many times I fuck it up, to tell you about, the project that I am making for the Vampire the Masquerade Vampire Jam under the coverage of the Dark Pack Agreement, uh, where basically you have to make a game in a month. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be cool. So I'm pretty excited about it. I want to talk to you a little about the setting and the characters that I've decided on. I have really nothing to show gameplay wise because I'm still on the process of just getting the main skeleton together from beginning to end. Placeholder maps, placeholder graphics, all of that. We're going to be using a lot of assets from the free packs that Vampire the Masquerade World of Darkness provided. So yeah, we got to work those out. Um, so yeah, nothing to show yet. So let's just get right to it. Vampire the Masquerade Blood Sun. I hope you like it. Quick disclaimer, as this is mainly a design document in early stages, most names, mechanics, and places are subject to change. But as always, please, feedback is strongly encouraged. This is, after all, a work in progress, a very early work in progress, so anything you want to say, please feel free to do it. Thank you. Okay, let's talk a little about the setting. Mexico City is where I have lived basically all my life. I, know how rich of a setting for narrative this can be. A lot of different places where you can do different things, lots of different people. It's the biggest city in the world for a reason, and when I googled the role of Mexico City in the World of Darkness, I was, this is years ago, was very surprised to see that it was actually the capital of the Sabbat, uh, the headquarters of many of the mainstays of the Sabbat. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I want to play a little with that. So, as I said, lots of different locations. You got your classic urban nightlife setting. You got kind of like your shithole Santa Monica equivalent uh, stuff. Obviously, talking about uh, Bloodlines, the original. Please don't hate me if you're from Santa Monica. You got your forested areas with like museums, zoos, auditoriums, stuff like that. Spoiler alert, werewolves probably, right? And then you got like your magical, kind of haunted, historical downtown area. So a lot of good places to work with. Talking specifically about the plot points, what I want to do with the game is this. It takes place in Mexico City, obviously. Um, as a result of the Beckoning, Kindred are leaving en masse. They're bound east. So there's two things that are going on here. The first one is, vampires are leaving. The second one is the vampires that are staying are embracing people a little bit indiscriminately in order to, fuel soldiers for the war and advance their own agendas. So as a result of this, the law in the city has to crack down a little harder on these offenders, and the prince is just trying to keep things together. It's not a it's not a situation like in other cities where you're playing your pieces. No, this is just about trying to keep everyone calm and everyone, uh, let's say, content. So yeah, the kindred that we are going to encounter in Mexico City is a skeleton crew of what it was, and as a result of this, talking about the Camarilla, as a result of the reduction in Camarilla presence, other hostile factions are there to fight for the scraps. Talking about what the role of humans is here, well, we got the First Light organization, has a foothold in Mexico City, in Mexico, and this is going to be named La Luz del Mundo, or, World's Light. Uh, as it often happens with us Latin Americans, we tend to turn everything into religion. So I guess this is going to be an amalgam of an organization that is there to fight vampires undercover that turned kind of into a cult or a scam religion per se. So I think that could be pretty interesting. And to spice things up, there's a mysterious outsider that has their own reasons for being in the city, and this is going to become a major plot point later on. So let's talk about our party. Let's talk about our characters. I want to. Oh, I sorry, I suck at presentations. This is obviously an RPG Maker game, 2D, top-down, uh, party-centered RPG battle system. I'm still deciding between doing it turn-based, which I think is kind of boring, or doing it action-based, kind of like Chrono Trigger or some Final Fantasy games where you charge your turn, and then when it's your turn, you click your stuff quickly, and then you have to wait for your next turn. But it all happens in real time. I think that could be a little more dynamic for the setting. Anyways, so yeah, top-down RPG for players, and they come from all walks of life, different ranges, different embrace background, whatever. We got Camarillas, we got Hecatas, we got Anarchs, we got basically all of it in there. They're narratively stranded and they have severed all ties. I'm not going to tell you what happens yet, but something happens and they are basically cut off from the rest of Vampire Society, so they have to kind of like get back into it slowly and steadily. So I think that could be cool. Diablerie is not an objection, actually. Uh, since they've severed all ties, they don't really have any obligation to uphold the rules anymore. I mean, they have moral, restraints or whatever, but if they need to do it, they can and will do it. So I want to provide a balanced mood set for role playing or for identifying with the characters. So usually, when you create only one character and you say, "Okay, I'm going to go this way or this path," it gives you more. Uh, it makes it more identifiable with you. But there are other aspects that you want to explore. Uh, say you say, okay, I'm gonna sleep my way through the entire game, so I'm gonna make a seduction-based character. Okay, that's cool, but you're still missing out on all the intimidate options, or you know uh, mugging people for money, or just downright being a sadistic asshole and killing everyone. So I think there's the advantages of having a party is to have something there for everyone. So without further ado, here are our templates. First, we got our Simis. He is tentatively named Dimitri, obviously placeholder name, because Dimitri is, talk about Eastern European, is one of the most stereotypical names, so just placeholder. And he looks kind of like this. Just some ideas on how he might look. Kind of like a 40s, maybe early 50s look, European, obviously, balding. The first idea that came to mind is that this guy has to be balding. And you see very, very like, no nonsense kind of guy, very grounded, very attractive and sexy naturally. So, um, disciplines, obviously. This is fifth edition, so I'm trying to stick as much as I can to it. Animalism, protein dominate. Um, about him, little history. He was embraced in the 1800s in Eastern Europe, obviously by the Smis clan, and I've always loved how they're portrayed in well, at least the video games. They're like very Draculian with fancy clothes and really fancy speech patterns. Yeah, this is not him. That's this was just a poor guy, like a poor peasant or something that got embraced by this overly occultic and refined clan, and he really he's having none of it. So he's really outspoken, not sophisticated at all. He frustrates very easily, which is reflected in some of his disciplines. Animalism, for example. And this is from a mechanical standpoint. I want him to be able to summon animals, but I don't want him to be able to summon them indefinitely. So, because he's very hot-tempered, hot-headed, kind of inept at the more refined arts of vampirism, his animals are not going to last a long time, or they're going to lose interest in him very easily. And also, he's a family man. I haven't worked this out yet, but I want him to have like a more relatable human side. So I'm thinking maybe his whole family got embraced, and he came here to Mexico City as a way to protect his family, and seeing if distance can um, you know dull a little the beckoning, the need to go east. So uh, yeah, that's there. It's still work in progress. He can intimidate people. So we talk about what he can actually do in the world. He's gonna have intimidate options. Lock picking. This is actually kind of cool. He uses his vicissitude amalgam, amalgam, whatever, however you pronounce it. He uses that to actually turn his body or his hands or his fingers into keys. So uh, I think that could be a good idea, because again, he's not refined. He's not using it to make like this super bone dagger that is going to effectively kill the enemy. He uses it for things that he sees in everyday life, because he's a dad. He's a family man, right? And later on, maybe again, all of these mechanics are subject to change and subject to time. He can turn into mist, and what I want to do with all of these mechanics for exploration is make them kind of like a mini game. There may be time for that, or they may not be time for that. So, worst comes to worst, it'll turn into a battle ability where he gets a lot of dodge, or just a passive where he gets like 15% dodge or something. You know, we'll have to see. And that's my man Dimitri. Okay, let's talk a little about the moral center, the narrative center of the story, and this is a Toreador, and his name is Carlos, and he kind of looks like this. As you can see, he is a kind of a very sophisticated, romanticized psychiatrist. And if you can see, there's a lot of pictures that exemplify that stereotypical psychiatrist look. Um, but underneath, I think there's a little more going on. I haven't figured out exactly what. So I would say he's one of the more in development characters. The other ones are a little more fleshed out than this one is. So good old Edward Roivas right here, exemplifying exactly what I wanted to do with this character. Um, as a Toreador, he gets, of course, presence, auspice, and celerity. He was actually embraced in the 1950s, and he is a native, so he has lived all of his life in Mexico. He is comes from the 1950s, where there was a lot of like economical prosperity and the golden age of cinema, whatever you want to call it. So he's a very refined in the arts and the academics. He's also the intellectual center of the group. Whenever there's a concept of the world of darkness that other people in his party don't understand, he's probably going to be the one that explains it to them. So he kind of fulfills the role as a exposition dumper or a narrator, if you will. Um, However, his 1950s ideologies remain, so he never quite worked through his gender role and gender equality issues. So he's a bit of a womanizer. Um, maybe some gay hate in there. I don't know if that's yet if that's going to look good, or if that just looks as an excuse to be a jerk. So I definitely want to keep some element of prejudice in there, though. I'm still not sure what it's gonna be. He's very pragmatic and very inflexible. He's very by the books. He doesn't try things. He's got his methods because, well, he's a psychiatrist, and he doesn't deviate a lot from there. Um, got some people skills, obviously, which reflects in how he relates to the other people in his party. And he's also at the very center of the conflict. The other three guys are just like situationally there, but he's the one that got most affected by what happens at the start of the game. He was a big part of the reason why the story develops the way it does. So no spoilers yet, because again I think I'm decent at a lot of things, but I'm not excellent at one thing in particular. So I don't want to unveil my writing just yet, because yeah, it's not fleshed out yet. So you just have to wait for that. Obviously, he opens the persuasion options for the player. And very interesting through his presence tree, he can actually unlock others hidden potentials. So, for example, if Dimitri is spec'd into intimidation options, maybe he can unlock further intimidation options through history. So it goes into a people person usually doesn't work for themselves. They work for other people. They want to make other people better. So I think that was kind of cool. And again, subject to change. Probably going to be cut. We don't know yet. He can climb walls and he can run on water. Okay, let's get to the fun part here. Everyone loves Malkavians. So this is our Malkavian representative in the party, and her name is Aubrey. She I kind of wanted to deviate a little from that concept of, well, let's just call it what it is, the fishmalk character, right? Um, hey, why did you bash that guy to death? Oh, I saw a butterfly and I was chasing it, and it's like, really, that's just, excuses to be sadistic and cute at the same time. I'm just not going for that. So I try to make her a little bit different. You'll tell me if I succeeded or not. So, um, as you can see, she's not very old. Uh, she was very recently embraced. So, out of all of them, she has the least idea of what's going on, and I think the biggest part is she really doesn't care. she she lives in her own you know 2018 and beyond world, social media stuff like that. She really doesn't care what happens around her, and you can also see very varied skill set, or I'm sorry, emotion set of emotions. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, right? As a Malkavian, she gets Dominate, Obfuscate, and Auspex. She was embraced not too long ago. I haven't set a date, but I'm thinking this is a couple years or maybe months, right? And one interesting point that I want to make here, we can actually talk about that later. Her Malkavian condition. Again, I don't want her to be a sadistic bitch that excuses everything with, oh, I'm just crazy, guys. So she has mood swings, probably an undiagnosed uh, borderline personality disorder, and I think this is something that can play into battle. So, when you go into battle, get a random debuff on yourself, and that basically tells you what mood she's in, and depending on that mood, uh, she's going to have advantages or disadvantages. So, for example, when she's like very hyperactive, she gets a incredibly boost to speed, and maybe she gets crit rating or something. Or when she's depressed, she gets slower. Her defenses go down, but also she's more introspective, so her casting ability increases a little bit. So I think that could be interesting to play with. Okay, so she has a wealthy upbringing, and as you notice, her name is not, you know, something that you would find in Latin America, and that's because here in Mexico, especially in other countries, wealthy families often like to use names that come from other countries. So there, there's a very fair justification for why her name is like that, and I think that also ties into her story. Wealthy family, ignored, so she basically has to live in her own world. And another thing that I think we could work with is she actually broke the masquerade and disclosed her condition to her parents, and her parents just accepted it because that's the sad reality of many people here are that they're not surprised. Nowadays they're not surprised by anything, and I kind of wanted to play a little with that. We'll see how it goes out, how it turns out. Social media addict, and she actually got in trouble for it. If you read the excerpts online, ShrekNet has been dismantled, uh, and the Camarilla are kind of like technophobic as a result of this. So she just can't stay off the computer, and she got in trouble for it. How she got in trouble for it, that's not defined yet. But I'm thinking she live blogged drinking a guy's blood or something. I don't know. We can still work on that. Um, she's a jack of all trades. Also, I wanted her to fill in the role of emotional connection in the story for whatever is missing, and that's why she also has multiple personalities, or not multiple personalities, but multiple moods or mood swings. So if the story's getting a little dark, she can provide that comedy, right? Or if the story is just getting like too ridiculous, she can just suddenly, scream at everyone to stop doing stupid shit and focus on what we're going, what we have to do. So she can provide. She's a she's a tool. Oh, and she's also useful. Um, and she's a tool to provide the balance to whenever I feel I'm writing myself into a corner, I guess. And she has a goal. Just this poor bastard that when you're a teen, you just like you do a lot of stupid things. So this poor guy just walked into the wrong party, met her, and now he's basically screwed. So we'll have to see how that plays out in mechanics. She has the seduction options, obviously, and she also has hacking and stealth. Again, might cut them. We don't know. Right. And then here we got my girl, basically the one that I like the most, and the one where all this idea kind of started, which is what if we took the narrative standpoint from Sabat, or well, in this case, Hecata point of view. So yeah, I may be bad at a bad reader or a bad storyteller because I don't know, I kind of like her uh, one-dimensional personality where she doesn't really have a lot of depth to her at first sight, but hey, she's fun. So let's talk a little about Joe, or Josephine. Um, yeah, no surprises, right? She lives in an island, or she used to live in an island. How she got here, we don't know yet. But as you can see, we're going to talk about the curse, in a minute, because you may see some things that aren't in concordance or in agreement with fifth edition. So we'll talk about those, and you can also see a lot of stuff from the medical field, which is another one of her backgrounds, I guess. So Joe, her disciplines are Oblivion, Fortitude, and Auspex, and she was embraced in Haiti in the 1980s. This is from what I've read, just skimming through the Wikipedia and stuff. It's a time where there was a lot of death and a lot of war-related stuff. So it's perfect for a clan member that is obsessed with death to be actually embraced in that period. Basically surrounded by death and despair. Kind of, yeah, it kind of makes you dive deeper into just you can't come back from something like that, and that's the whole idea with this character, is that um, she's basically the most unhinged of the whole group, right? So as we said, she's a Hecata, but her blood's a little messed up. She retained the disciplines of the Hecata clan, so she doesn't have Thanatosis or anything like that. 'Cause let's face it, Oblivion is just more versatile than Thanatosis is. Thanatosis, whatever. So from a game design standpoint, I think it was better to have it that way. However, she was not. She comes from the old bloodline, so she was not able to get rid of her curse. So she does not have the kiss. She instead has the decay of the basically her body decay. But because she's in the medical field, she actually got around this a little bit, and she found some methods of grafting stuff onto her. Um, it's not perfect, so she has to do it constantly. But with this in combination with her mask, basically lets her interact in the outside world without any problems, or people are still going to get a whiff of a not so pleasant smell when they interact with her. But she can be just fine. This is basically because I didn't want to have to design a game and then have to design sewer playthrough under that game, like Bloodlines, for example, which was interesting, but I kind of want to tell a story with different characters, and it's not that's not going to happen when at every turn they're going to have to go, hey, Joe, well, why don't you go wait in the sewer while we do this, and we'll meet up back later. That's I don't think that gives good storytelling opportunities. So, but yeah, her jaw, she was not careful. Again, she's about 40 years old, from the moment she got embraced. So she wasn't careful, and her jaw got a little fucked up. So yeah, she has a quirky speech pattern, which is one of the things I love the most about her, because she can be very scholar and very knowledgeable about medical stuff, and about uh, occultism, stuff like that, but she doesn't speak very fluently. So I think we could play with that a little bit. Um, and also, she has been isolated for decades, unhinged and sadistic. She has not interacted with people for a very long time. Um, so, her ethics, her morals, everything that would make her human are basically in the gutter. She, throughout the game, she will be the one that offers the alternatives to kill someone, tell someone off, terrorize someone, etc. And as we explained before, she has medical knowledge, which can or cannot be part of the mechanics. We have yet to see what we're going to do with that. She gets the terror options, basically, takes her mask off, and people go like, "Hey, what the fuck is going on?" And she gets additional conversation options that way. She has ghost interactions, so we got werewolves, we got ghosts, and she can actually interact with ghosts. You fight ghosts no matter what. That's what I'm thinking, at least. But she has abilities in combat and out of combat that let you interact with those ghosts. So maybe unlockable missions or different ways to approach missions outside of combat, and then in combat, just ways to really wrestle those ghosts down and make them easier for the party to kill. And this one, it's not really developed, but put it there just for the sake of completion. Environmental hazards. She has, because she's spec'd in fortitude, she can withstand tremendous physical pain. Together with her grafting kit, she can, and if she's spec'd correctly, she can withstand, a lot of things that other vampires wouldn't be able to. So, um, yeah, maybe we make a mini game out of it where she has to go through a burning building, or a sewage plant with a lot of chemicals that would burn another vampire skin, and we can you know just fool around with that. But it's yeah, I'm not really feeling hot about it, so we'll see what happens. And yeah, that's it. Just wanted to give you a slight intro on what I'm planning, and well, I think the most important thing here is I want to know what you think. So please, thank you for watching my video. I'm sorry if it was a little long, but yeah, that's what happens when you get excited. And yeah, feel free to give me any feedback that you may feel necessary. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.